Well, welcome to ANMC's webinar. Today is all about student experiences. So I am Dr. Joanne Yanez. I'm the Executive Director for the Association of Accredited Naturopathic Medical Colleges, and we're going to be talking all things student experience today. We have a panel of current ND students from our member programs, and I'm excited to have a talk today. We will be basically talking about all of the things that led them to their experiences and everything that they've been going through as current students. So just before we get started, everyone here is in listen only mode. Please use the Q&A box. So not the chat so much, but please use the Q&A for any questions that you may have. We are recording this session today. And so if you have any questions or want to know how to get it afterwards, please feel free to email us at info@aanmc.org. It will be automatically emailed to everybody who's registered as well. So with that, just a real quick disclosure, this webinar is not eligible for continuing education and the panelists are volunteers here. Any views are their own, not that of AANMC. So what we're going to start with naturopathic medicine, a little bit about school, and kick it off with this student panel. So naturopathic medicine is a system of treating the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. It combines the rigors of science, which students today are going to talk to you about, I'm sure, along with the healing power of nature. And it is based in the 6 principles of naturopathic medicine: doing no harm, recognizing that healing power of nature, the role of doctor as teacher, identifying and treating the causes, treating the whole person, and helping to teach people prevention. That's kind of it in a nutshell. When our naturopathic doctors and students are learning how to treat patients, the therapeutic order guides that. And so at the bottom of this therapeutic order are things like stress and sleep and things that our students may be struggling with right now, nutrition and social support, and kind of fitting all of those foundational things in. And at the top of the pyramid are higher force interventions like drugs and surgery. So it's not that naturopathic doctors are opposed to any of that. It's just usually we're going to start at the bottom. So today, the student panel is going to talk to us all about how they are magically and perfectly balancing school and life, right? So with that, the approach incorporates medicine, herbal medicine, clinical nutrition, lifestyle counseling, manipulation, hydrotherapy, homeopathy, a number of various different modalities. And so I'll let the students talk to you about the curriculum, as well as kind of how they got to where they are. And with that, we've got members from all of the accredited schools. So we're going to kick it off. We have Eleanor from Bastyr, Lauren and Emily from CCNM, Stephanie from NUHS, Yolanda at NUNM, and Juliana at Sonoran. So I'm just going to go and kind of call on you in rando orders here. So feel free, as well as if there's something that you want to, jump in and add in, just raise your hand and hopefully that'll kind of pop up to my screen so I can see that. So Lauren, why don't you start by telling us your background, how you became an ND student, and how did you know this was right for you?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Lauren. I'm a 4th-year student at CCNM Boucher in Vancouver, British Columbia. And my journey to becoming an ND student was a little bit unique. I did my undergraduate degree in Ontario, and I did kinesiology. So I was there for 5 years, moved home because of COVID. And then I saw like a friend of mine, she was posting all about like acupuncture and making these tinctures and herbal medicine. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is so cool. I need to be part of this. And so she told me all about it, and it just worked out really well with applying. And I graduated from my undergraduate degree in December of 2020 and then started the program in January of 2021. So it was quite a short little journey for me, but I always knew I wanted to be something in the medical field. Originally a traditional medical doctor, but I love the way that naturopathic doctors have more time with their patients. And we have so much in our toolbox that we can utilize. And yeah, I knew becoming an ND was the right decision for me because it just felt right. That sounds really cliche, but everything just kind of lined up perfectly. And when I went to go see Boucher, I could picture myself leaving there 4 years later. And I just knew that that was the right decision for me. So yeah, it's a little bit about my journey.
Thank you. Emily.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily. I am a second year student at CCNM in Toronto. So my journey it was kind of a big circle. Growing up, I always had interest in both medicine and art. And when it was time to choose a major in college, I just always knew in the pit of my stomach that I didn't want to go to conventional medical school. And I thought that was the only option. So I ended up opting into studying art. Um, and I had a 6 year career in marketing and graphic design and higher education. And then during COVID, I just had a lot of time to Google. I had this itch to incorporate medicine into my career somehow, and I just didn't know how to do that. And I ended up just Googling the right things, honestly, and found the ANMC. And that was kind of my intro into all things naturopathic medicine. I had no idea what it was before. And after I found that and read about it, I was like, this is exactly the type of medicine I want to do. Just like Lauren said, it just felt right, everything about it. I knew I always wanted to work with patients and be in direct contact with them. So having and a career, a field where you are really focused on the patient education and with patients for a long period of time, working on prevention and having individualized plans for them, that just all felt right to me and excited me. And literally within that year, I finished my prerequisites online. I moved across the world from Italy, came to Toronto and started school. So once I found out about it, it was just all right. And here we are today.
Thanks, Emily. Eleanor.
Hi everyone. My name is Eleanor and I am in my final year ND and MACP program at Bastyr in San Diego. And the MACP is my Master of Arts in Counseling Psychology. So I'm actually dually enrolled. And that was a big part of the reason why I ended up at Bastyr in San Diego because they did have a dual degree program. Prior to coming to Bastyr, I studied neuroscience in undergrad, and I was planning to apply to allopathic or conventional medical school and pursuing a degree in, psychiatry, specializing in psychiatry. And for me, it felt like, there has to be more. Um, there just has to be more than, what this field has to offer. And my partner actually had a friend that was going to school at Bastyr Kenmore, and I looked up what naturopathic medicine was after that, and I was like, you know what, this is exactly what I've been looking for all along. So I applied and I got in, and here I am 5 years later. It's been an amazing journey, and it just felt right, like kind of like Lauren was saying.
Thanks, Eleanor. Juliana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Juliana. I am actually from Toronto, Ontario. I'm attending school at Sonoran University in Arizona. I'm that cliche story where ever since I was little, I always said I wanted to be a doctor. However, I thought that would be conventional medicine. And then it wasn't until my undergraduate degree I started experiencing a lot of anxiety. And so naturally, I sought out care in an MD. And I remember something that really stuck out in my mind was she maybe spent a total of 5 quick minutes with me asking me about my symptoms. And I felt like I had so much more to share, but I trusted in her and she put me on prescription medications. And it was a year of cycling, actually a couple years of cycling through different medications, and it didn't work for me personally. So I sought out care in an ND, and everything about my lifestyle changed, and she completely changed my life in the best possible way. And so I knew that became my newfound passion for how I wanted to practice medicine and help patients. So after that, to really solidify that it was my passion, I worked in a naturopathic office for 2 years. It did for sure solidify that this is what I wanted to do. And then I did a bunch of research, and now I'm at Sonoran, and I'm also in a dual degree program with the Masters of Science in Clinical Nutrition.
Thanks for sharing. Yolanda.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Fernandez. I'm from Puerto Rico, just graduated in June from NUNM. Both of my parents are doctors, allopathic doctors. I grew up in a household where I was very exposed to patient care, but even though I loved the clinical setting, I wanted more. So I did a lot of different roads. I became a lactation consultant, a childbirth educator, a couple of things until I found naturopathic medicine. So just to widen the scope of work and the reach that I had in breastfeeding and pediatric care, I moved from Puerto Rico to Portland, Oregon to pursue naturopathic medicine. I did the 5-year track because I'm also a mom of 2 kiddos, 10 and 7. So I've been juggling a lot of stuff, but it has been an awesome journey. And here I am. I'm done with it. So that feels great too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm from NUHS in Illinois. I'm on my 4th year. I graduate in a couple months here. I always knew I wanted to be an ND, actually, which is strange because I grew up going to allopathic doctors. I was pre-med in my undergrad, and after undergrad, I wasn't ready to go back to graduate school. I was just kind of craving a job and some money, I guess. And I fell into a marketing role in the city, and I kind of fell in love with that too. So I did marketing downtown for 8 or 9 years. During that course, a ton of my family members got sick with various things, and I was always like, what botanical remedy would be good for you? And yeah, anyway, I always loved it. So once COVID hit, I got laid off, and I decided it was time to step into becoming an ND.
Thanks for sharing. All right, so we're going to jump into next question. So some tips, some strategies, how to succeed both academically and personally. Let's see, Stephanie, do you want to start?
Definitely. So I would say, personally, as a student, I think someone gave me this advice early on. Just make sure you take care of yourself and make sure you take care of like the relationships with the people that you love, because you can get really swamped and busy as an ND student, and the 4 years go by pretty quickly. But just remembering what your priorities are and understanding that school might not always come first, your health always comes first, is probably the biggest tip I could give you. Personally, as a student, I would just put yourself out there, meeting people, signing up for events and different clubs. It just makes the experience so much better.
Thanks for sharing. Juliana.
I completely agree with Stephanie. I was going into school with the mindset of school before everything else. And professors, upperclassmen always told me, make sure you're taking time for yourself. So for me personally, I'm very much a schedule and planner type of gal. So for me, each week, once I get my schedule for the quarter, because Sonoran's a quarterly based system, I schedule study time for myself. I make sure I always incorporate personal time every day, even if it's just half an hour that you're taking to yourself, whether it's reading a book not school related, working out, even just sitting on the couch, making sure that you really do take time for yourself every day. And then again, scheduling has always been something that's been very helpful for me.
Thank you. Yolanda.
I was SGA president and class president, so I juggled a lot of different things, and I think that kept it out of the monotony and like being able to have things to look for that are not just studying. But since I'm also a mom and a wife, I had that dual life of having activities and time outside of school. And I think it's very important to not let school consume every aspect of your life. Have passions, hobbies, and things that nurture your soul, because it's very easy to get burnout. So have other things that keep your fire ignited while you're going through school.
Great tip. Eleanor?
Yes. So for me, I completely agree with everything everyone has already said. I think self-care is of the utmost importance when it comes to succeeding in naturopathic medical school. And also for me personally, like Yolanda, I was very excited to get involved. I very much like to keep a busy schedule. I was president of the Naturopathic Medical Student Association. I worked with the California Naturopathic Doctors Association. I worked for a supplement company. So, keeping really busy on things that are slightly related to school, but also allow for kind of a break from the academic realm was really special for me and helped me to succeed as a student.
Thank you. Lauren.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what everyone else has said, for my personal self, I call them non-negotiables. So every year I kind of sit down and reflect on things that are non-negotiables for me. So things that I won't give up, and things that I, like Juliana said, kind of schedule in for myself. And then academically, make connections with people. That doesn't necessarily mean just your classmates, but get to know like your teachers, your supervisors in clinic, get to know people, and preceptor and shadow as much as you can, because that kind of reignites that passion when you really get into the thick of school. It can be quite challenging to remember why you're there. So yeah, just get involved as much as you can and really try to go back to your initial why for being there.
And Emily.
I agree with everything everyone has said. I think similar to what Juliana was saying is that my first year I was so rigid in how I was approaching school. I was like, I'm going to memorize everything, and then on top of that, I have a part-time job, and I'm one of the class reps as well. So there was always so much going on, which is great and does take away from that, routine. But I think I became too rigid in that and burned out. And so I think that the advice I would give is just to make yourself adaptable. So, whether that is acknowledging that a study technique isn't working for you and allowing yourself to change, or having new conversations with people, or volunteering, or just letting things come to you. I think just going with the flow for whatever challenge comes your way instead of resisting it will really open up the doors for new experiences and allow you to adapt if there are any challenges during school.
Thanks, everyone. So let's walk through a typical week of school. Emily, do you want to start what a normal week looks like?
Sure. So, as a first and second year student at CCNM, you have clinic once every 3 weeks. So you have a 6-hour shift and that rotates. Besides the clinic shift, our courses are on it's a case-centered curriculum, and it's a really interesting way of learning because every week we have one case that our instructors basically have made up from their own experience, and we act as doctors, so we're rotating and doing the whole patient simulation, and then all of our other classes during the week are revolved around this case. So whether it's like the pathophysiology of the case or the treatment or the diagnosis or the actual physical exams, all of our cases revolve around this. And it's a really great way to contextualize exactly what we're learning about and also remember it. So that is our week in terms of academics, and our classes are in person every day. So I'm on campus every day. There are some classes that you can watch the lectures online, or that they have asynchronous work, so you kind of do that between classes or on your own time. And there also is time, at least for me, during the week to work part-time online. So everything fits into the schedule. It's just a matter of scheduling out your time and making it work.
Thanks so much. Yolanda.
I think weeks vary a lot by year, particularly. I would say like first year was very heavy on the course load. So we would have a whole day of classes. It could go from like 8 a.m. to 3, 4 p.m. And then you had like extra work for home. I think first year was the heaviest one. Then you have a little bit more wiggle room with how you schedule your tutorials. So we have block system at NUNM. I think that's changing a little bit, but when I went through the program, it was like if we had cardio plus cardio lab and cardio tutorial, and then tutorial is more like the case-based discussion, interviewing a patient, doing your soap note. So you had a little bit of wiggle room of how you scheduled the lab and the tutorial, but the class was the same for everyone. And then as you move up to your last year, then you decrease significantly course load, and you'll have more of just like basic classes of how to move into your professional career. So jurisprudence, and we had our clinic shifts that you kind of are assigned with a priority, like you choose your priorities and then you get randomly assigned by this algorithm. And that way it really varies. Like my last term, I had 3 clinic days, but I had one that was a double. So I would go from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. With a double shift. Each shift is 5 hours. And then you have your courses, case integration and jurisprudence, that are like an hour and a half per week, and then some extra work for home. So very different weeks, but.
Thank you. Stephanie, what's a normal week look like?
Yeah, so I just finished the last of my classes, which is amazing, by the way. Feels really good, thank you. So this is the first time in the last 4 years that I don't have to come home at night and open up my computer if I don't want to, which has been really good. So I'm in clinic, our school clinic, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And start time varies. On Mondays, I don't have to be in until 11, but Wednesdays and Fridays, I have to get there at 7 a.m. So I'll start seeing patients at 7. And then I do an externship at this homeopathy clinic near me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So at National, we have to be in clinic or at a preceptorship 5 days a week. The hours can kind of vary. And then pretty soon I'll start studying for boards. So that'll be like nighttime weekend stuff. And I'm starting to do like the back end stuff to start building my own practice. So I'll be doing that soon. But these last few weeks of not having any classes have been gorgeous.
Congratulations. Juliana.
So Sonoran University is a quarterly based system, and that was something new for me. So we have 11 weeks on in one quarter and then a 2-week break. So you have 4 quarters in 1 year and 4 2-week breaks. And each quarter your schedule changes. It also depends on how involved you are in the school and if you have a part-time job. So I would say in the first 2 years, you're really focused on your basic sciences. So generally what a week will look like is 3 longer days of classes, about an 8 to 5. 12 to 1 is almost always lunch break, no matter what year you're in. And then 2 days of the week will almost be more of a half day in your first 2 years. And then in your third year, you enter clinic. So that really depends on what clinic shifts you get. Could be an 8 to 12, could be a 3 to 7. And we have multiple clinics. We have 2 on campus and we have plethora of clinics off campus. So that'll change, but generally about an 8 to 5. And then for myself, for example, class president on the SGA, I'm in a few different clubs and I also work a part-time job. So I would say academically an 8 to 5, and then some extracurriculars on top of that. So around an 8 to 5 academically, plus any additional extracurriculars that you're involved in or any part-time job.
Thank you. Lauren.
So my first couple of years at Boucher were a little bit different than what they're going to be now. I was the last cohort before the merger with CCNM Toronto. So my first 2 years, I was in class from 9 to 4, Monday to Friday. And I was the Boucher student body president in my second year. So that was a lot of time outside of classes as well. And you have a lot academically to study for in your first 2 years. So I spent a lot of my time outside, like weekends and after school, just making sure I was staying on top of things. And then in third year, you start, or I started, being what we call a secondary in clinic. So you're in the appointment room with the fourth year and the patient, and you're essentially just watching. We did have some competencies that we had to have. So we had to do vitals, a couple physical exams, and then by the end of the year, we had to run one full appointment on our own. And same thing, we had classes from 9 to 4, Monday to Thursday. And then you had either clinic in the evenings, so from 4:30 to 8:30, or all day Friday or all day Saturday. And now that I'm in my fourth year, my class schedule has definitely decreased. I'm only in clinic 9 to 12 from Monday to Thursday, and it's all of our specialized courses now, which is very exciting. So we're able to apply more things now. And then I have 3 clinic shifts a week at our school clinic, and I'm doing an externship, meaning I'm shadowing or I'm working under the license of a naturopathic doctor that's not associated with CCNM Boucher, but I'm getting clinic credit hours and patient contacts through them. So it's nice to kind of have a shift outside of being at school, to kind of have a bit of a change of scenery and to get a different perspective on things. But yeah, nearing the end, so it's getting less busy. And yeah, my weekends, I definitely don't have to do anything if I don't want to. So
I think, did I get to everyone or did I miss somebody here?
I haven't gone yet.
Okay.
Okay. So for me, my typical week is a little bit unique because again, I'm on the dual track. So I actually this year have the opportunity to complete 20 hours a week at a psychiatric hospital, which is really really incredible. So 20 hours of my week will be committed to that for the entire year. And then I am completing 2 clinic shifts per quarter. And those clinic shifts are either with a naturopathic doctor, a chiropractic doctor, or a medical doctor. We have physical medicine shifts, hydrotherapy shifts, biofeedback, and urgent care shifts, all either on campus or off campus, which is really incredible. And then I take classes still in my final year. Bastyr actually follows a spiral curriculum, which means that concepts are introduced and then expanded upon on each subsequent year, which is a really nice way to solidify the information that we're learning over time. Yeah, so very busy week, but there is a lot of opportunity again for that self-care and engagement with extracurriculars.
Thanks so much. So there have been a couple of questions about careers, and I wanted to make sure that we touched upon this. So for those of you who are either have graduated or are close to graduation, I know there are a lot of different options for working as an ND. The majority of folks do focus clinically, but there are people who do administrative roles, go into academics, start up businesses, and work in the nutraceutical supplement company industry. So there are a lot of different ways to use the degree. For those of you who are getting close to or ready to jump into this part of your life, would you mind sharing how you have looked into this, how you've kind of sought out mentors? What are the types of things that you've done to get yourself ready for your next phase? And feel free to just jump in.
I can go. For me, I actually did have the opportunity to be a representative for a supplement company. A lot of the schools do have programs which allow for various supplement companies to interact with students on campus, and students can actually, work with these companies and kind of help students to familiarize themselves with the various brands that are available. And this is one area in which we as naturopathic doctors are highly sought after because we have a lot of training in nutraceuticals and botanical medicine, which makes us very valuable to supplement companies and different manufacturers of botanical products and things of that nature. So that's one way in which I've been able to utilize an opportunity at school in order to kind of diversify my career options in the future. For me, I am interested in completing a residency, however, immediately after school. So that's kind of what I'm preparing for in my final year.
Anyone else want to jump in here?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about my plan. I am currently building a completely remote telehealth-based practice. I don't want to work remotely forever, but I want to do some traveling next year. And so that seems like the most viable option. I feel like I've been in school for 4 years and I kind of need to like move around a little bit right now. And then after that, I plan on working full-time remotely for myself and then getting a part-time job in a pediatric practice. Eventually, I want to grow all of my own herbs and make my own supplements for my patients. That's like a long-term plan, and opening up like a brick and mortar that's solely mine later on. But those are long-term things.
It's good to have short-term and long-term game plans. And also to pull together the resources, the mentorship, all of the information you need to be able to launch those successfully. Does anyone else want to jump in there before we move on? All right. All right. So I know that there are a few questions that have come in. One of the questions is financial aid. I know that this is really a sticky topic for folks. I know that this is really a sticky topic. A lot of people get scared about financing degrees, student loans, and I do want to be just transparent with that. I do want to be just transparent with that. And folks get scared about. There are some people who folks get scared about. There are some people who take work a little bit during school or take work during the course of school. I think I've heard a couple of you talk about that. And then there are other folks who save up ahead of time and take out the minimal amount of loans, and then there are folks who take out a lot of loans, and then there are folks who take out a lot of loans. Let's have a discussion about how you're managing that. If you've found scholarships, how you're managing that. If you've found other assistance and things of that sort during the course of your education and things of that sort during the course of your education. I know that this is personal, so feel free to discuss. I know that this is personal, so feel free to discuss what you're comfortable.
I worked for many years before I came back to school. So I had many years before I came back to school. So I had a nice funds that I could use for school originally, like in the first few trimesters I was there. Like in the first few trimesters and then I did start working part-time and then I did start working part-time near my school. I worked too many hours, I think. Those were tough trimesters. Too many hours, I think. I really burned out pretty quickly trying to work and manage. I really burned out pretty quickly trying to work and manage. I've worked various jobs on campus where you get paid. I've worked various jobs on campus where you get paid like minimum, helps out a little bit, but not a ton. Which helps out a little bit, but not a ton. I started taking out more loans probably like I started taking out more loans probably like my fourth or fifth. I mean, it was worth it for me just because I knew this is what I mean, it was worth it for me, but it's definitely something that you have to take into consideration. But it's definitely something that you have to take into consideration. If you want to be an ND and you have to take out loans, if you want to be an ND and you have to take out loans, everyone that I've talked to has had to do. It's just something everyone that I've talked to has had to do. Holistic. There are other medicine, not medicine, but like, you know, you can do other things other than become an ND. You know, you can do other things other than become herbalism. Like it doesn't have to be. You can go into herbalism. Like it doesn't have to be big beefy career as an ND. So keep that in mind too. But it is an ND, so financially too. But it is financially. I think coming up with a plan and then how you're going to pay back. I think coming up with a plan. When I first started, I figured out how many patients I would have to see. When I first started, I figured out how many patients what I would be charging in order to pay and what I would be charging in X amount of time. So just having like an actual plan of X amount of time. So just having like an actual plan. This is how I'm going to pay back. This is how long it's going to take me. This is how I'm going to pay back. Kind of how long it's going to take me. Instead of just kind of responsible way, but yeah, either way, financially responsible way, but yeah, either way, financially it can be stressful, and I sympathize with that.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to jump in here? Thank you. Does anyone else want to
I'm
jump in
happy
here?
to jump in. So
I'm
I'm an
happy to jump
international
in.
student from Canada,
So I'm an
attending a school
international
in the
student
United
from Canada,
States. So
attending a school
financial
in the
aid
United
was
States. So
quite
financial
challenging
aid
for
was
me.
quite
So as an
challenging
American
for
citizen
me.
attending
So
an
as an
American school, at least
American
at
citizen
Sonoran
attending an
University, you
American school, at
qualify
least
for
at Sonoran University, you
loans
qualify
and
for
for federal work study.
loans
So
and
I
for
would
federal
say
work
majority
study.
of students,
So I would
and
say
at least in my
majority of
cohort, do
students,
rely
and
on
at least in
financial
my
aid
cohort, do
that
rely on
gets
financial aid
released to you
that
at the
gets
beginning of each quarter at
released to you
Sonoran
at the beginning of
University.
each quarter at
And
Sonoran
a lot of
University.
students utilize that to cover
And
tuition
a lot
and
of
living
students utilize that to
expenses.
cover tuition
As a
and
Canadian
living
student, you don't
expenses.
qualify
As a Canadian student, you
for
don't
the financial
qualify
aid that the states
for
offers.
the
So for
financial
me
aid that the
personally, I
states
worked for a
offers.
few
So
years
for me
prior to
personally, I
attending
worked
school in
for a
order
few
to
years
save up.
prior to attending
I also
school in
went
order
into
to
the
save up.
program with a
I also
virtual
went into the
part-time
program
job that
with
I have
a virtual
upheld, which
part-time
has
job
helped a
that I
lot.
have
And then
upheld, which has
Sonoran
helped a lot.
University offers
And
a
then Sonoran
tremendous
University
amount of federal
offers
work
a
study
tremendous
positions. So
amount of
again, as
federal
an
work
American
study
student, you
positions. So
qualify for
again,
that.
as an American
And
student,
there's
you
something for
qualify for
everyone,
that.
whether it's working in the
And there's something for
library or in
everyone,
the
whether it's working in the
clinic,
library,
working at the
or in
front
the
desk.
clinic,
There's an
working at the
endless
front
amount of
desk.
options in the
There's
research
an endless
center.
amount
So
of
that's very
options in the
helpful for
research
students
center.
as
So
well.
that's very helpful
But
for
definitely,
students
I
as
would
well.
say reach out
But
to your
definitely,
financial
I
aid
would
office
say
at the
reach out to
school.
your
I know
financial
for
aid
Sonoran,
office at
that's
the
the only one I
school.
can
I
speak
know
to.
for
They're
Sonoran,
extremely
that's the only one I can
helpful.
speak to. They're
They'll help
extremely
you with
helpful.
loans. They'll help you with
They'll help you
creating a
with
financial
loans. They'll
plan.
help you
So
with
definitely
creating a
reach out to a
financial
financial aid
plan. So
office.
definitely reach out to a financial aid office.
And I would say definitely try to have a plan
And I would
before
say
going
definitely
into
try to
school
have a plan before
and
going
mapping
into
out all your
school.
finances and all your
And mapping out
expenses.
all your
For me,
finances and
I
all your
have an Excel
expenses.
document.
For me,
and
I have
keep
an
everything
Excel
on track
document
and I sort of
and
budget
I keep
myself
everything
month
on
per month.
track
So I
and I
find
sort of
that
budget
very
myself
helpful.
month per month.
And
So
then
I find that very
scholarships as
helpful.
well. Sonoran
And then
University releases
scholarships as well.
scholarship
Sonoran University
opportunities
releases
September of
scholarship
every year.
opportunities.
I think
September
every
of
year
every
since
year.
I've been there,
I
we've only
think every
expanded on
year
the
since
amount
I've
of
been there, we've
scholarships that have
only
been offered,
expanded
which
on the
has
amount
been
of scholarships
really
that have been
helpful.
offered,
Some
which has
ranging
been
from
really
$1,000 to
helpful.
full
Some
tuition
ranging
for
from
a quarter.
$1,000 to full
So
tuition
those
for
get
a
sent out
quarter.
about 15 to
So
20
those get
different
sent out
scholarships.
about
And
15
so
to
you
20
can
different
apply to any
scholarships
that you
and so
qualify
you
for.
can
So
apply to
each
any
year
that
I
you
apply to
qualify
as
for.
many
So
as I
each year I
can. You
apply
can
to
even
as
get
many
awarded
as
more
I
than
can,
one. And you can even get
so
awarded more than
always take
one.
advantage of scholarship
So
opportunities,
always
I would
take
say.
advantage of scholarship opportunities, I would say.
Thanks so much.
Thanks
So
so
there
much.
are a few other questions
So there
here.
are a few other
questions
Some of them
here.
are actually specific
Some of them
for
are
some of
actually
you. So
specific
if you
for
are
some of
able
you.
to
So
jump into the
if you are
Q&A,
able to
I
jump
think that
into
there
the
are a couple
Q&A,
questions for
I think that there
Sonoran
are a
and
couple questions
NUHS.
for
So feel free to
Sonoran
jump in
and
and answer those
NUHS. So feel
directly.
free to jump in and answer those directly.
So there is
Um,
another question
so
that I'd love
there is
to
another
maybe get a
question that
few
I'd
of
love
you.
to
Not
maybe
everybody has
get
to
a few
answer
of
this,
you,
of course, but a few
not
of you
everybody
feel
has to answer
comfortable
this, of
talking
course,
about
but
this.
a
So
few
if
of
you
you
can tell
feel
us how
comfortable
your
talking about this.
schools
So if you can tell us how your schools
are
racial,
addressing
economic, gender disparities,
racial, economic,
discrimination in
gender
healthcare,
disparities, discrimination in
I'd love to hear your
healthcare.
insights there. I'd love to hear your insights there.
I would love to chime in on this one.
I would love
I
to
feel like
chime
that's
in on
a
this
very
one.
heavy topic
I
at
feel like that's a
NUNM.
very heavy topic at
There's a
NUNM.
lot of conversation
There's a lot
about
of conversation
racial disparities,
about
gender disparities,
racial disparities, gender
all of our
disparities.
block systems. We
All of our
also
block
have a
systems.
very
We also have a
trauma-informed care teaching,
trauma-informed
on how to
care
approach
teaching
patients in
on how
clinic,
to
and we
approach
work with a
patients
lot
in
of
clinic, and
disparities.
we work with a lot
The
of
NUNM
disparities.
clinic
The
is,
NUNM,
I believe it's called
clinic
Tier
is,
1. So we
I
work
believe
through
it's called
OHP,
Tier
which is
1.
the
So we work
health
through
insurance,
OHP,
government
which is
health
the
insurance.
health insurance,
So
government
we
health
try to bridge
insurance.
that gap.
So we try to bridge that gap. We have
Community
medicinary
where we get discounted or free
medicinary where we
supplements
get
for patients
discounted
who
or
don't
free
have access to
supplements
pay
for
for
patients who don't
supplements.
have access to pay for
So I feel like
supplements.
NUNM has
So I
been
feel like
quite
NUNM has
conscious
been
about this
quite
and implementing
conscious
it
about this
in every
and
turn of our
implementing it
curriculum.
in every turn of our
The last
curriculum.
year we have case integration and a lot of cases that are discussed is like what could have gone better and where like what could have gone better and where I don't know what was the mishap that happened. I don't know what was the mishap that happened or what and a lot of the things that are related and a lot of the things that are related. A lot of the things that are talked about are related to disparities. A lot of the things that are talked about are related to disparities. As SGA president, it was something that I was very president. It was something that I was very arduously working to have these conversations. So I to have these conversations. It is a very open subject. It is a very open subject at NUNM. Currently applied at all of the currently applied at all. You know, when we talk about cardiovascular health, you know, when we talk about cardiovascular health, approach historically very different, women versus men and things like that. Women versus men and things like that. So
Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else want to jump in on that question? Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else want to jump in on that question?
I could talk about that too, from CCNM.
I could talk about that too.
In terms of in terms of like as a class student, we have like as bi-weekly meetings with administration, and I honestly can't remember any issue that's come up with that, which is any issue that's come up with that, which is a great, very diverse city. Obviously, every city has very diverse city. Obviously, every city has its issues, but seems so that promising from that aspect. But promising in terms of the curriculum, it is very. In terms of the curriculum, it is very. We have a specific class. It's called Art of Naturopathic Medicine, and one of the topics that it highlights very consistently is inequality and inequity, inequality and inequity systemically, and how naturopathic medicine. Like Yolanda was saying, and all of our cases, like Yolanda was saying, for all of our cases, we talk about this. What disparities exist in society, and how disparities exist in society, and how can we individualize the treatment? How can we individualize the treatment to help a patient be able to can? How do we help a patient barriers as much as we can? How do we address barriers? That is addressed. It is a topic that is addressed with every single week here. With every case, it's incorporated into. So I think that it's definitely a topic. So I think that is on everyone's mind, especially is on everyone's mind, especially as naturopathic doctors.
Thanks so much for sharing. Does anyone else want to jump in, or should we go to another question? So let's talk about creating a strong application. For those of you maybe who are newer to having just applied, talk about how you prepared. Shadowing experiences, is research required for a strong application? What did you do for prerequisites, GPA, etc.? Does anyone want to jump in here?
Student, so I can talk about that. I'm a newer student, so I can. So I, like I mentioned, I come from an art background. I mentioned, I come from an art background. I had an interest in science. I did not have an interest in science. I did not have I had some classes during undergrad. I had some classes during undergrad major level science major level science courses, but not for sure. So I did those online. Was for sure. I also ended up contacting the ANMC, Dr. Yana contacting the ANMC. Very helpful in asking my questions. I ended up working together, and we ended up working together and shadowing. I originally was asking about shadowing opportunities and the perspectives of different NDs because I never had perspectives of different NDs because I never had exposure by working with Dr. Yana. So and also by working with Dr. Yana, and also by doing shadowing opportunities or having calls with shadowing opportunities or having that gave me a lot of perspective into that gave me a lot, and that was really into the field, and that was really. I personally didn't do any research in undergrad. I personally didn't do any research in undergrad because during the interview at CCNM, they asked a lot about CCNM. They asked a lot about what I know about it. My experience in the field, what I know about it. About bringing in students who have a deep understanding of what naturopathic is, and a deep understanding of what naturopathic is, and so just by shadowing doctors or just by shadowing via email, asking questions, contact with them, and getting all the information you can, I think is really getting all the information you can. I think is really helpful in your application and making yourself more competitive.
Does anyone else want to jump in here? Does anyone else want to jump in here?
I can touch on this a little bit as well.
I can touch on this a little
being
bit as well.
We call it the BNSA, the Boucher Naturopathic Students Association. The Boucher Naturopathic
Being the
Students
president,
Association. I got the opportunity to speak to our admissions officer for now all of CCNM. Now all of CCNM. She spoke a lot about how they take the personal essay portion of the application quite seriously. She mentioned that it's very obvious when students are writing their personal essay to and tell the school what they want to hear versus actually answering honestly, actually being very candid in your answer, and being very candid in your answer. That's my biggest piece of advice for a strong application. And same if you get to the interview portion as well, just be yourself. They can tell when things feel forced. They can tell when things feel forced. course, and naturopathic medicine is a very personal profession. So just showing who you are and how you really want to be able to help people, I think really sets you apart. And I know that the GPA requirement, for CCNM has dropped just slightly in the last couple years, making it a bit more accessible to people. But with that being said, obviously strive to have the highest GPA that you can, and really put in the work and set yourself up. And really put in the work and set yourself up. Because it does really help when you do, when you pay attention, when you do well in your undergraduate degree, it does really come in handy in the first couple of years of the program for sure. In the first couple of years of the program for sure.
Excellent. Does anyone else want to jump in here? Excellent. Does anyone else want to jump in here?
I would like to add that a lot of schools, at least a lot of schools at least gives a really strong weight to like having life experience, like not just being an academic, not just being an academic focused person, but also having like shadowed with MDs, knowledge of the profession, knowledge of the profession, in different areas that really highlights that you are more committed to doing naturopathic medicine or studying naturopathic medicine or studying something that a lot of effort on your behalf. So a lot of effort on your behalf. So I've seen that a lot of candidates sort of benefits, life experience involved, life experience. So there's a lot of mature students at NUNM. So there's a lot of mature students at NUNM done something. They've worked in certain areas and then worked in certain areas and then they pursued naturopathic medicine is what I've seen.
Thank you. We definitely have a fair number of fair number of career changers at all of the programs as well. It's something that is Emily, I think I've heard a few of you have had career lives prior to taking this journey. So it's definitely something that we see quite often. Not of course everyone, but it's absolutely a commonality. And so I'm going to go ahead and share the presentation again real quick here. I hope that this was a positive event for you all. We do have some upcoming events here. Next month, we're going to be talking about sugar. Halloween time, just in time for Halloween and the holidays. And then we will be hosting a naturopathic career fair with the admissions counselors. So if you thought that this was helpful and you have specific questions about applying or anything else, I know that there are a few questions that have come in that I've said, hey, this might be better to talk to an admissions counselor. Like if you've got questions about your transcripts or questions about courses and anything like that, that's really best for the admissions folks to answer. All of the schools maintain student for a day type of things where you can go and visit. Show of hands, how many of you on the panel visited a school before you went? So it is not required, but it is really helpful. I've found visiting the schools is one of those things where if you do have the means and you do have the ability to do it, you walk into a campus and you either know you fit or you know you don't. Like it's just one of those where, like a lot of folks said, wow, this was the career for me. I really knew that this was my path. It just resonated. It's often the same thing with the campuses too. So I see a couple of you are nodding. Does anybody want to share your experiences with that before we wrap up?
I'm happy to. I actually had never been to Arizona prior to applying to Sonoran University. I spoke to our admissions team, who was wonderful, and did a lot of research on all the schools, and I decided to quickly tour it over a weekend. And it's exactly what you said. As soon as I got there and did the tour, it felt like home to me, and it just was the right fit and felt like it clicked. I actually run tours at Sonoran University, so if anyone ever wants to come for a tour, I'm very happy to show you around. But if you're able to go see a school and get a feel for it and the community and meet some students, or even take the opportunity to do the student for a day, which Sonoran also offers, it definitely helps solidify my decision in which school to pursue.
Same as Juliana, I had never been to Portland before. I was also trying to balance like I eliminated Canada because I was worried about my husband's work visa or not being able to find work. And I had kids, so I was looking for certain, Spanish immersion programs and things. So there was a lot of family life around my decision. But when I came to NUNM, I participated in the clinic. I shadowed a clinic shift. And I felt part of the conversation and in the discussion room, being able to talk about patient care and treatment plans, and just being there, and the feel of community that NUNM had really made the decision for me.
Is it okay if I say something really quickly?
Please, go for it.
I feel like I'm maybe the only people out of the panelists who didn't have the opportunity to tour the campus beforehand. I live 15 minutes away, but I was right in the middle of COVID when my program started, so I never had the opportunity to physically go see Boucher beforehand. But I did speak to some current students that were there. I was in contact with a lot of administration people. And so if you don't have the opportunity to physically go to visit the school you're interested in, definitely talk to students, reach out to them, get their opinion on things, because that's where I got a lot of insight for Boucher. And then when I actually got to go, within a month and a half of being at school, that's when it really solidified for me. So I think it's best if you can physically visit, but if you can't, reach out to people, get all the information that you can. And it really is the people that make the place, not the physical building. So yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap for the day. I recognize it's a Sunday and everyone's fitting this in the middle of your own work-life balance. So with that, I really thank my panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your journeys. I wish you all, each of you, the best on your journeys, as well as you kind of make sense of life now as either an ND student or in your next set of life experiences as a practicing ND. So with that, thank you all. Thank you for attending, and I hope to see you at a future event. Have a great rest of your weekend.